Hey, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of the Relaunch Real Estate Podcast. As a reminder, you can subscribe to any of our episodes and make sure that you get them every single Wednesday at relaunchpodcast.com. Very excited to have a guest here in the Indianapolis marketplace, Ryan Radecki. He and I have done some opposite side transactions, and every single time we have, it goes really well. He's definitely a mega agent and top producer in the Indianapolis area. And so without further ado, I want to introduce Ryan. Ryan, how are you, man? Tell us a little about where you're from and what you do.
Sure. Hey, thank you, Patrick, for the nice intro.
Yeah.
I'm originally from South Bend, Indiana. I grew up there, went to school at Purdue University, and got a kind of a glimpse of the Indianapolis market. Wasn't in real estate at the time, but just a lot more opportunities for jobs and so forth, and just having a good time, so to speak, compared to South Bend. So. Been here since the late 90s, raised my family here. I have two kids that are in college now. Been married for 22 years. So it's been a great experience, and love the area and love Indianapolis.
And how long have you been doing real estate?
I've been in real estate as a licensed agent since 2013. However, I used to work for a national production builder back 2005 to that point.
Okay. And what did you go to school for at Purdue?
I was a psych major.
Oh, really?
And actually did social work for a year up in South Bend when I got out, and quickly realized that $18,000 a year wasn't going to pay back my student loans.
Right.
But all joking aside, it was a great learning experience for me. What the real world's all about. I gained a lot of tools that I use today, just dealing and talking with people, and it's a great experience. Just doesn't pay well.
Sure. Well, as you know, most of our job is communicating with others and getting them through a really stressful time. And so knowing how to communicate with people and understand where they're at, I'm sure very pivotal in your business.
It really is. I mean, listening is such an important aspect that a lot of new agents or just people in general don't really appreciate, so to speak, until they get into it. So I would definitely say anyone that's ever thinking about getting into real estate, that one-on-one is listen. Just shut up and listen.
Yeah. Yeah. People, their scripts aren't necessarily the end all be all, right? Like saying the right thing. It's just understanding where people are at and what they're trying to accomplish. And you don't find that unless you ask a question and stop.
Right.
Listen.
I agree 100%.
I love that. So let's talk about what you've accomplished this year in the business. We'll talk about your best year here in a little bit, but how about 2020? We're at the end of 2020. Tell us about your production.
Yeah, I should finish. Fingers crossed for the rest of the 2 weeks of the year. A little over 17 million. It's not my best year. However, I've been pleased with the amount based on everything that's shaken down this year. It's been a great market in Indianapolis, as you know. I don't have to tell you, but there's a lot of professions that can't say that or can't say that they're doing very well. So yeah, it's been a good year.
How many transactions is that for you?
I'll be close to 80. I think I'll be at 79 by the end of this month. So
okay, so your price point, you're about 17 million. Divide that by around 80 transactions. You're right at like that 225, 250, which is real average for Indianapolis market. So
very affordable.
What's that?
I said, very affordable. I mean,
So. And you said that this wasn't your best year. What'd your best year look like in real estate?
Well, my best year in real estate was my third year in. I was I came from that new construction background and kept a lot of relationships in the builder world, and that had a little bit to do with it, but just kind of started taking off from the sophomore slump, so to speak. I started at the end of 2013, and 2014 was just like a lot of new agents, had its ups and its downs, but learned a lot that year and just kind of took off and gradually started figuring out that me personally, balance was important too. I came from a national production builder world where it's just numbers, and the volume was insane. Did very well with the company, and was actually the number one salesperson for Beazer nationwide for 2.5 years.
Oh, wow.
So I needed to, with doing that, I needed to settle down a little bit in regards to balance and figure that out. Well, it's one of the biggest struggles I've had since I got into new home sales and real estate is, you got to have work-life balance, and it's not easy. I'm not going to lie. That's consistently been the hardest problem. But once you figure that piece out, and it's not just the number, so to speak, that you can get back to enjoying why you got in this business in the first place. And probably just like you, of course you want to do the best you can, but making that someone smile and dealing with that, experience that, you had a big part of is life-changing. And it's not always the dollar signs that does it.
Yeah. And if you're doing 80 deals a year, how are you finding that work-life balance?
Well, I do have a buyer's agent that helps me a little bit on
Okay.
the buy side. So it's like, and she started to take on a few more responsibilities listing wise now too. So trying to coach that, but just having routines. I mean, staying disciplined, not just winging it. There's a lot of periods where, just like you, I'm sure you're killing it one week, and then the next week you get 2 phone calls with 2 bad appraisals, or someone wants to pull out of the deal and
Mm-hmm.
pull your hair out. And as you can see, my hairline's starting to thin.
Mine's turning gray because of real estate for sure.
So yeah, I mean, it's, you just got to make the time discipline, and just like if you make appointments for your clients, you got to make appointments to spend time with your kids, or spend time with your wife, or spend time on yourself. I mean, that's the other piece too, is you're giving. And I burned out plenty of times too, because of just giving too much and never taking time for myself. So I've figured that piece out a little bit, but stayed focused on my business as well.
So you've been doing residential real estate for like 7 years, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. At what point did you say, got to hire buyer's agent? When did that happen?
Within the 2015. So it was within a year and a half to 2 years.
Oh, okay.
My biggest struggle since has been growing even further. And the reason being is that, I really do enjoy real estate. I love working with buyers, and I also love working with sellers. I know a lot of agents, probably just like you, that absolutely hate taking buyers around now.
Mm-hmm.
They're too big for that, and they hire that out, or same with the listing side. And so, I thought about it. I'm like, well, if I really do love it and I enjoy what I do, well, I don't need to hire 15 people to be underneath me and just have falsified numbers. I want to do what I want to do. So,
right.
Well, as long as I have that passion and health wise, I like where I'm at. I mean, surely want to grow and keep getting better, but that doesn't always mean being a $50 million producer.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and sometimes that life's not enjoyable, right? Like all these organizations are training on how to create these mega teams and get all these people underneath you, right? Well, that just actually adds a whole lot more stress, because you're really good at selling houses. Then you got to get really good at leadership. Then you got to get really good at like counseling. Then you got to get really good at business running. And that's actually more stress than doing what you're doing, which is being really, really good at something.
Yeah.
Enjoying it, and then making sure that you got that balance.
Right.
What is your buyer's agent's, duties? Like, what does she do? What's her role? How do you utilize her?
Well, I found her. I mean, I worked with her briefly. She came from the new home sales world. She worked at Beazer for a little bit and some other builders, and so it's more of an overflow when I absolutely can't, curtail. I mean, when we're busy season, there's one person and you're doing a lot and getting a lot of referrals and working on online platforms. There's only so many hours in the day, and so at the same time, I've worked with her. I want her to grow. She's, like I mentioned, she's starting to start listing properties now and so forth. So,
nice.
It's just been kind of a mentorship. She wasn't looking to go full time, full bore, just kind of gradually get into it. And so it kind of was a perfect fit in that regard. And she's, with her personal life now, she's starting to want to take on more stuff. And so I can see she's had a good year, and I think she will continue to prosper and do well. So she handles all buyer's duties that she entails too.
Did you like initially hire her with the idea of, her taking over some showings and stuff when you needed that kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, back 5 years ago, mentor I had was like, you got to hire someone else underneath you. You can't. It's you're going to be successful, and you're going to lose some people just because you can't show three houses at the same time to three
Right.
different people. And so that kind of stuck with me. But I was very selective on someone that was going to represent me, my brand, and do a good job. And I was always impressed with her and her character, and it's been a good work marriage, so to speak.
Sure.
She's still with me, and it's been almost 5 years now. So,
And it sounds like you have put her in a place where now she's like getting, promoted per
mhm.
se, right? Like she's working up the ladder too.
Yep, absolutely.
That's perfect. Yeah. I mean, I always think that that's interesting. Do you have any admin or transaction coordinators or anything, or do you do that stuff yourself?
Yeah, I do. I do have an admin now that was basically a transaction coordinator that Highgarden has provided for me. One of the reasons coming back is to not do the busy work stuff that just doesn't pay the bills and so forth. So that's been a nice relaxed part of it as well. Very stubborn individual though. I probably should have done that years and years ago.
Yeah.
Just one of those things that, when you're really good in the new construction sales world, you're in control of absolutely everything. So you get used to just doing it yourself, and it takes too long to teach someone else to do it. And
Yep.
one of the biggest weaknesses I've had in my game, but I finally was convinced that piece just needed to come off. And this year it has made a nice difference.
Yeah. And that takes a long time to
Yeah.
convince yourself to give away the things that you're really good at.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. So.
Yeah. I mean, so I remember the day I hired my transaction coordinator, and I remember I'd listened to a podcast and started reading some books, and they said, you should hire a transaction coordinator the moment you start hitting 30 transactions a year.
Mhm.
And I was like, no, I don't need it, and I was at that time, around 50, 55 transactions a year, still was hesitant to do it. And then I hired the first one, my only one. She's still with me too. It's amazing. She's incredible. But it was like when I was around 70 deals a year.
Mhm.
And that was way too late. I mean, way too late, because I didn't get her going for probably a year. Like she wasn't apt in her job. She wasn't doing the job perfectly until about a year's point, because I didn't have time to train her.
Right.
So looking back, and I don't know if you'd say the same thing, I think you got to do it a lot sooner.
Absolutely. I mean, sounds like we both made the exact same stubborn mistake. So.
Yes. Stubborn real estate agents.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about the sources of your business.
Sure.
Where does the majority of your business come from?
I would say a majority of it comes from referrals. It's everyone always says that, but it's so true. That's the easiest sale you can get if you've done a great job, so to speak. However, I've also marketed with Zillow for a long time. Just tried Opcity a little bit this year. And Highgarden has a really nice platform for taking leads as well.
Mm-hmm.
That some agents have really taken off with. So just kind of not putting all your eggs in one basket has always been my theory. I've tried other things as well that haven't worked out, but Zillow is ever changing, as you probably know. I know you do some work with them as well, and it's just not the same as it was 4 or 5 years ago. It is today, and just about adapting, and it is what it is. So there's still opportunities that you would never get, and so that's always been intriguing to me. But yeah, those are the main.
How many zips are you in Zillow?
The big ones I'm in, I'd say I'm in 4 to 5 that are like North Lebanon area all the way up to south of Kokomo. There's a spectrum there where I do like Tipton and different areas that I've just taken up on. I originally lived in Brownsburg when I first moved down here, and was doing a lot in Hendricks County, and still do quite a bit, but I kind of got away from advertising over there as much.
Yeah.
Westfield.
It's always interesting. You don't know the Zillow thing. You don't know if it makes more sense. And I don't know if it makes more sense to invest large in one
Mhm.
zip or a little and a lot. I haven't been able to figure that out.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's always ever changing.
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
Putting together a puzzle. It changed, I experiment every month, try different things, and until it sucks completely dry, I'm gonna probably play around with it.
yeah. And it's where, I mean, it's where everybody is. So if you're not in a platform where everyone is, you're going to get less business. So you
Yeah.
kind of have to play the game.
Yeah. I've never felt like it's a taboo setup though, because working with a lot of first time home buyers, I'm sure you as well. I mean, a lot of these people don't know where to start, and it doesn't mean that Zillow's the devil and it's a bad place to go. It's actually, thankfully for Zillow, because there's so many people that are stuck of not knowing what to do and where to go and could get taken advantage of. So
Sure.
there's agents that are going to treat them right and build good relationships.
Absolutely. And you're giving to them, right? And you're providing value to them. You get them set up right. And that ultimately that becomes a referral machine for you in the future. If you do a good job, they are going to be, those people are so appreciative.
Absolutely.
Their expectations on the real estate purchase may be here or there just because they've not been like coached correctly. But when it's done and they're in their first place, they're going to love Ryan because Ryan spent all the time with them.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of education to go involved. I mean, some people are just starting, have no idea what a pre-approval is or what earnest money is, or what kind of market we're in.
Yeah.
Oh, my grandpa told me we could offer 25% less than current list price, and you have to like bite your teeth and just like, oh, okay, well, this is where I need to start with these people, because
Sure.
there's no way that other than a bad cuss word will come out that from the seller that you're going to get away with that in this market. So
Right.
education is really important, and it helps everything go smoother, of course, too.
So this is kind of a nuts and bolts question. I'm just curious. Let's say you get that Zillow lead, right? You get that Zillow call.
Mhm.
What's your script? I know you're not using scripts at this stage in your game, but like, what are you saying to these folks?
Well, I'm just asking. I'm trying to get some blanket questions of just how's it been going? How are you just getting started? Um, not getting down the road of, hey, are you pre-approved and how much? Blah 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 blah. Because I mean, heads are spinning. Half the time, I don't even know who you are and what company you are. They think you're Zillow.
Right.
So just kind of trying to shock and awe of, let me listen to you. Let me see, how's it been going? You're just starting out, and just let them go and see what they say. Typically, they'll tell you everything you need to know if you ask those questions. If you start to be in command and saying, again, the pre-approval thing, a lot of times they'll turn people off. And so it's just a matter of asking a couple questions and just sitting back and listening and truly listening, and then evaluating from there.
Yeah, I love that. We teach in our organization that the only question you ask when you get a lead is motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are you reaching out on Zillow today?
Right.
Where are you at in all this? How long have you been considering it? Just like you said.
Yeah.
And just shut up and listen. And they'll tell you their whole story. They'll tell you if they're pre-approved or not. You don't even have to ask.
Right.
If you're asking the right questions. So I love how you're approaching it. I mean, obviously, this is why you're a successful agent in this area, is you're approaching it right. So you said you did a little Op City. Has that been okay for you?
Yeah, just kind of. I mean, they have a relationship with my broker, so I just kind of started up a little bit. And so far, it's been fine. I mean, they take away a lot of our money, of course, but
Right.
but yeah, it's similar concept, just different platform. So
Okay.
yeah.
You feel like, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I don't. It's too early to tell, I guess, since it's only been probably 4 or 5 months that I've taken, what it's going to be comparative to Zillow. But I do see the value in it if it's handled correctly.
Yeah, I think I've had a podcast guest before, and we all have different opinions on business, but one of them had said that all leads are not created equal.
Mm-hmm.
And they're right when they say that, because their staging is different. But like a Zillow, an OpCity, a Realtor.com, even a website registration lead to an extent, I feel like they're all generally like in the same place. And we have to do exactly what you're saying, is figure out where they are and just listen to them and not have crazy expectations that they're going to turn into a sale tomorrow.
Yeah,
Like it's going to take a long time.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I love hearing you say that. And I hope our listeners kind of take that home, because I think a lot of people are kind of like looking for the magic wand of where do you invest leads so you can
Mhm.
get the quickest turnaround. You're going to get those one-offs, but you got to do what Ryan's saying. You got to just call every single one of them, treat them all equally, and just figure out where they are.
Yeah.
Don't run them through this process. Just figure out who they are and where they are. Love that. And then referral. So let's talk about referral. You said that's the biggest part of your business. One of the biggest for sure.
Yep.
You've been doing this for 7-ish years. How do you go about loving on your past clients and getting those referrals? Like what's your secret sauce and just keeping people coming back to you?
Well, I think, impressing them with responsiveness has always been a big key for me. Half the time I get referrals when I didn't even ask for them. I'm going to be honest and say I've done a poor job throughout the years of having a system where I'm going to touch these people 8 times a year or 4 times a year. I come out with plans and I haven't in many times been able to achieve those goals. Comes down to time and so forth. But the key, I think, with referrals is doing that, is truly coming up with a plan and staying in front of them, not just automated emails, but giving them a phone call, shooting them a text, whatever their preferred communication is. Just being as responsive after the sale as you were during the sale.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing I've noticed people say about me is that, we really appreciate that you text us right back. I mean, it's been 4 months or it's been 2 years or whatever. And it just surprises me that some agents, don't treat people the same as they would before they get their sale commission. So responsiveness has always been thing. Letting people know that you're in the business too. So many people I've lost out on transactions with because I haven't told them that I'm in real estate. Just punches you in the gut. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've had some too. It's just,
oh yeah,
it's like, you didn't know I was in real estate. Yeah, okay.
yeah.
just lost 3 deals. Thanks. But yeah, just coming up, staying in front of them, making that personal touch, via text or phone versus email. I mean, email is nice for certain things, but the emotional side, I don't think carries on if you can help it.
Oh, I agree. I just had a podcast interview a couple hours ago with a title rep, and she said that she's just read an NAR statistics not too long ago that was like 87% of home buyers or sellers never hear from their agent again
Mhm.
after the closing.
Yeah.
It's
Scary.
insane.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where all of our business should be like, a majority of our business should come from is the people that we've already helped.
Right.
And we're doing a terrible job
Yeah.
at connecting with them.
Yep. So systems, and such a big deal to do if you can figure it out. And it's definitely a goal of mine for 2021 is to truly have a firm plan and execute.
Yeah. Well, I like that. I just like the thought of just being responsive, making sure that they know that you're there at any time. And then also, giving them a call or texting them after a sale's over, whether that's a few months or a couple of years, you just letting them know that you're there.
Mhm.
All you got to do is bring yourself up in the top of their brain again every
Right.
once in a while. And then they'll remember who you were and how well you took care of them.
Absolutely.
Obviously, you're successful. Selling $17 million a year in real estate is way above average. I mean, way above average. You would definitely be a top producer. So there's got to be some habits or routines that set you up for success.
Mhm.
Can you think of some that you do daily, weekly? What are your habits, your routines that keep you successful?
Well, I think one thing, is to take care of yourself, whether staying in shape, working out, running. I've always used running as a big time stress reliever. One of my best accomplishments, about 6, 7 years ago was running a marathon. A lot of training involved, and as being in this business, you don't have the time to do it, but just proves to show and prove to myself that I can do anything if I really put my mind to it. And And so coming up with a daily plan is important. Whimming things every day is going to lead to some bad habits. And so when I say take care of yourself, working out, it just sets your mind free, good stress reliever. This is a very stressful job, as you know.
Yep.
Everyone thinks it's not, but it really is, and a lot of moving parts. And so, take care of yourself. Come up with a plan. Yeah, we don't work model hours or office hours 8 to 5. Many times we're working at midnight. I mean, we're working crazy hours. So
Yeah.
just being responsive, in the evenings as well. I mean, a lot of new agents think that, well, their day's done at 5 o'clock and they can respond to their client next morning at 9 o'clock. Well, a lot of times they don't have that next client at 9 o'clock.
I was going to say, you got them. You just picked them up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, which is good, but you gotta keep focused and staying involved, because it's a never ending job in certain times of the year. So.
Yeah. And I've heard this before, that being responsive and constantly working and being involved, like you said, you almost want to look at it like a workout.
Yeah.
Like, you just always have to keep yourself active and in shape. And if you keep doing those things, you're always going to get a good feeling at the end of the day, right? So if you're available, if somebody's reaching out to you and you can respond quickly, you're going to get a reward for that. Just like an exercise, just like going out for a run or something, you're going to feel good right at the end. You just always have to be working on yourself.
Right.
Do you wake up in the morning and work out, or do you work out in the evening?
Yeah. I mean, I've always been I'm not a morning person. Like, you don't want to talk to me the first 20 minutes in the morning. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
But if I don't work out in the morning, there's too many excuses and things that come up, or showings that come up during the day that, you just talk yourself out of it, driving home from your last appointment, and you're like, yeah. So yeah, I really like to get up early and work out. In the wintertime when it's dark and dreary, it's hard to get out on the outside, but I like biking too. I bought a Peloton a couple years ago, and I love using that. It's a good reliever on a day like today when it's 28 degrees and a couple inches of snow on the ground. So.
Right. Yeah, I believe in that too. I really do. Exercise gets our brains right. I don't know about you, but I come up with some of my best business ideas when I'm running.
For sure. Yeah. Sure.
Or I'm like, oh crap, like I forgot to follow up with that person.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm guilty of that as well, or I forgot to make that third phone call to the agent and they don't even know about the offer, or like, oh.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's set your mind right, and it always lets you think about the good and the bad. You got to celebrate both. So
your brain fires a little bit more when you're working out.
Yeah,
that's for sure. I love that. Let's do a question for young professionals. What advice would you give to an agent who's just starting out? If you could go back and do it all over again, what would you change?
Well, I think one of the things that a lot of new agents don't understand is that you cannot get too high and you cannot get too low. Say you get your first sale and you're celebrating like you should, and then you have another sale, and 3 weeks go by and then you haven't had a sale. You got to stay equal there, because there's going to be great times in this business and there's going to be very gloomy and bad times. And it's that first year that creates the habits that if you can have that mind frame that you're going to get through it no matter what, that you can survive. I don't know the exact statistic. You may know it, but how many new agents that don't make it is really, really scary.
Oh yeah, it's like 4 out of 5.
Yeah. And it's also a rush for those that have made it, that, man, we've got the balls to do this.
Right. Exactly.
And so yeah, just keep grinding. Think of when you don't have, you're just starting out in the business, there's many opportunities that you can learn from other agents and pick their brains, and just, some agents are very helpful with that. Some aren't, but who cares? Go to the ones that are and pick their brains and have, do a Zoom call, whatever.
Right.
And just get out there and try new things. I mean, depending on your background, one thing I wish I could do and had the time to do is just go door knock some of these neighborhoods. I mean, with these lists, so many opportunities that you could have just by having, taking a couple hours of knocking on some doors and pass down a couple cards that would be life changing. But so keep grinding and never get too high, never get too low.
I like that. How I was just curious when you were talking about that, you talked about door knocking and listings. How much is your business is listings and how much is buy side?
This year it's going to equal out about 40% listings, 60% buy side. I've always had a higher buy side, and I'm mainly because of my background. I think, in a new home sales model, you're truly more like a buyer's agent than you are the listing agent. So that's a skill I've had to learn and gain success at versus the natural working for a builder buy side mentality.
Sure. Yeah. And you hear a lot of agents that are just trying to strive for just listings. That's all they want.
Mm-hmm.
I think when the market changes, which it will, I think the agents that are still working with buyers and concentrating on buyers, they're going to prevail.
Yeah. I love working with both because I feel like it sharpens your skill set on both.
Yeah.
You can't really look at a house from the eyes of a buyer if you're only a listing agent, because you're not constantly looking at, they're listening to their opinions and their so forth. So I really feel like it sharpens my skills both ways. And when I'm coaching my sellers, I've got true examples that I can share with them that's recent and what they're saying about today's market and today's colors and you name it. So I think it really sharpens my skill set. And it's one of the things that's why I like to enjoy working with both.
Yeah. I love that. So on the listing side, if you want to talk about listings,
mm-hmm.
Have you had what's like your best luck in finding listings? Does it usually come from your buyers since you're so buyer heavy? Or do your listings come from Zillow, or have you been prospecting listings in a different way?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say my best luck is whether it's referral or Zillow, or that you didn't know they had a house to sell.
Yep.
And all of a sudden they do, or maybe they don't have a house to sell, but their new boyfriend or family member, whatever, does. So a lot of times, we luck into that, and then kind of go from there. I mean, Zillow, I would say, has had situations like that, but it's not as prevalent as probably some referrals have.
Referrals your biggest base on listings.
I would say so. That said, I haven't tried a lot of. There was I can't remember the name of the group, but there was a platform that was just listing leads or something that based out of the East Coast, and I've been burned a couple of times with some of these outfits, but that seemed to have some success. But again, they disappear quickly. So
sure,
cold calling. It is what it is. I mean, you got to have a consistent plan to have success with anything, and just calling one day isn't going to do it. So
yeah, I mean, you have to be in there every day or every other day if you're wanting to see some fruits there.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I've really thought long and hard about hiring an ISA this year. It's one of those things that, just like admin and transaction that we were talking about, probably should have done a couple of years ago, if not longer. But someone that's focused on that and is good on the phones. And sounds like you've got a really good one. So
yeah, and we're looking for more. I mean, it's definitely beneficial to the business. Getting them trained is tough, and that job is like jumping into a boxing ring. I mean, they're just going to get beat up every single day. So you got to find somebody who's got really tough skin.
That's true.
And I don't know if you run around a lot of people with tough skin, but I don't. I mean, our world doesn't have a whole lot of people with really tough skin anymore. So
no.
It takes a lot to find that person. And my opinion on that, for those who are listening, is that you don't want to hire a company that has folks that are calling out of Puerto Rico or Jamaica or any of that stuff, because the local folks know and they feel like it's a call center.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to hire somebody like internally, which means tons of training, recruiting time, all that stuff. And then you just hope and pray that it pans out. And am I not? Yeah. So it's tough. What opportunities do you think people in real estate should be taking advantage of right now? People that are working in it?
Well, I think when you say opportunities, are you talking about just agents like you and I, or just newer agents, or?
How about us? Let's talk about the folks that, sell 10, 15, 20 million
Sure.
dollar in real estate. Like, what opportunities should we be looking at right now?
Well, I think there's a lot of potential for, further education and diving deeper, like listening to podcasts, for example, making time to grow. We're both having a lot of success, but that doesn't mean we can't continue to grow. And so really continuing to work on yourself, just the education piece, and having the time to do it. There are plenty of agents right now that they've checked out.
Yep.
If you're going to check out, that's fine. That's your game. But why not take an hour or 2 hours listening to a podcast, or read some books that are in this business. And we have perfect pillars right now with rates being low, and in Indianapolis just affordability still, but other markets and not so much. And if rates fluctuate throughout the years coming up, it could be a whole different ballgame. So staying sharp. Let's face it, there's a lot of goldfish that probably sell a couple listings.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot to keep it together as well. So just continuing to grow and prosper that way.
Do you listen to a certain podcast, or do you read books a lot?
I don't read a ton of books, but I do listen to different real estate podcasts. I do not just real estate though too. Big sports fan, but just things that make me think. There's a lot, as being in the car so much. There's a lot of car time.
Yep.
And not just filling it with stuff that's not gonna, music is great, but there's plenty of opportunities there where people that say they don't have the time, they could make the time in the car and not just make calls, but just listen to a good podcast and learn about different things in this world.
Constantly be learning. Life's too short. You might as well make that brain healthy and keep filling it up with something.
For sure.
What's the best piece of advice you ever received?
Slow down to speed up. I think a lot of people have success. Think that the harder you work, the more success you're going to have no matter what. And I'm guilty of that as well. And there's a point where you reach where sometimes you got to shut it down and slow down. And you'll see yourself speed up in a productive way. Burnout is a real deal, and I've experienced it. And it's not that you work 18 hours a day. That doesn't mean you're successful. It's like, how do you use those 18 hours if you choose to use those 18 hours? And so coming back to balance, that's that was something that stuck with me for a while. It's a mentor of mine when I first got in real estate, and it's so true. Sometimes you just need to slow down and speed up.
Yeah, there's agents in our marketplace and across the country that, sure, they might be making $300,000 or $400,000 a year, but they also might be working 17 or 18 hours a day, like you said.
Yeah.
And when you do that math, I'm not a math whiz, but that's probably what, like $15 an hour or something. That's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get to the place to where you're making, $200, $300, $400 an hour. Like, make the best use of your time. And you do that by hiring good help, like you've done, maybe like a buyer's agent, transaction coordinator, those kind of things. And then finding your ideal client base too,
Mm-hmm.
finding that group of people that are we don't discriminate on price points whatsoever. Right. So I'm not even going to throw the price point thing out, but like in a position that they're ready to do something.
Right.
Trying to find that pool of people where you talk to them a few times and they're making that decision in 1, 2, 3 months versus 6 to 8 to 12 to 2 years kind of thing. So trying to find your routine to where that's when people are getting introduced to you, like they're ready versus you having to do all that work. And that is usually, solved by a really good ISA or like a Zillow platform or something where you're getting a little hotter lead for sure.
Yeah. Cause there's a lot of times that, people will say, you meet them the first time, they'll say, yeah, we're probably 6, 9 months out, maybe a year out. And it's just like walking into a store. It's a defense technique.
Sure.
If you truly listen to what they're looking for and hit all their objectives, there's plenty of times where I've said someone's, 6 months out, we're writing an offer tomorrow.
Yep.
Because you truly took the time to listen, and other people they've been working with prior to, it's all been about them, and so shut up and listen, right?
It's everybody has sales aversion.
Yeah.
That's what we train at Crest Point. It's like every single because we're just consumed with somebody selling Beachbody or somebody selling like makeup or somebody selling this or that on Facebook. And like, we just see it all the time. And so everybody now is totally, they're just sales aversion. So like, if you get a call nowadays for anything you've inquired about, the consumer reaction is immediately just like shut down. Like I bought a truck last week and I inquired on like 5 different places. And as soon as my phone rang, I shut down because I knew, oh crap, they're going to be trying to sell me on something. And no joke, like you said, it was the guy that called me and was like, tell me what you're looking for. And then I can see what I can do. It wasn't like, hey, we got this in stock. Let's sign you up on this and blah, 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 blah. And so, and I wasn't really ready to buy a truck, but I bought one. And I was just kind of looking.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're the easiest salespeople, right?
Yeah. So you nailed it on the head there, where people just have sales aversion. And if you just sit down and listen to them, if you take a second, they're probably more ready than what you think.
Absolutely.
I love that. Let's do a couple more questions as we wrap it up. What failures have you experienced? Where'd you really screw up in the last 7 years as a real estate agent and you wouldn't want to do again?
Yeah. Well, you kind of heard some of it earlier. I mean, balance was a failure. Not having a plan some years. I mean, you're still selling, being successful, but not truly having a firm plan each year of your not only goals, but what you were going to do. So, you also fail with clients. I mean, sometimes you don't listen enough, or you make expectations or assumptions, excuse me, that they are going to be so far out that it's not worth your time to do your job like you should. So treating everybody the same, and not just because they say 6-9 months, not assuming that, and truly feeling like if you found the right house tomorrow that you could, staying in front of them, so because a lot of those defense techniques, if you don't stay in front of them, they say, hey, I'll call you when I'm ready. They're gone, or they're on Zillow and they're talking to you.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, just constantly having a plan to stay in front of people, but respecting their time and their wishes as well. You want the sale, of course. You want it to happen in your timeline, but it's not always going to fit that way. And so truly having that conversation up front that's saying, hey, I don't plan on going anywhere in the next, 2 to 5 years, whatever. Whenever you're ready, but I'm here to help and guide you through the process, and make sure that, you're getting what you want and so forth. So many times, like I said, 12 months turns into 2 weeks and you feel like you did a good job.
I love that. And I like how you said a perfect line that we use a lot in our brokerage. And I love that you said it. It's like, if you found, when you're talking to a buyer lead, if you found the house that was a perfect fit now, is that something that you would consider, or is that something that you would pursue? A question that not a lot of agents ask, right?
Sure.
A lot of agents, when they get those leads, they're saying, okay, are you pre-approved? All right, once you get that pre-approval, we'll start looking. Give me a call back, kind of thing.
Yeah, I've always had the theory everyone's worth a house. So new Zillow lead, instead of blowing them up over the phone and just overwhelming them, having a nice candid conversation at the house or outside and just explaining the processes. And then you can quickly tell if you've got someone that's just a tire kicker, so to speak, or truly someone that's invested in buying a home. And, through experience, you can figure, going back to that question a couple of minutes ago about newer agents, what not to do is to truly figure out quickly to not waste your time with someone that can't purchase. So shortening that window, but being respectful up front and learning about them, meeting them up front, and going from there.
That's very helpful. Is there anything else that you would want to share that's just been pivotal to the success in your real estate business?
Well, I think staying under the radar, to me, I've never been one of those agents or people really that it's all about me. And so I don't view success that way. I know some people that do, but a lot of people are shocked that I even am in real estate. I've always been kind of a quiet personality. Back when I was a little kid, very, very shy. I mean, probably I didn't make it through kindergarten. I cried the whole 3 months and just, but it, it's not about the accolades. It's not about, hey, look at me. It's about making a difference in people's lives. And you can do that without posting on, Facebook or platforms, how great you are 24 hours a day. And so I know what I do, and I know I'm really good at it, and making people, make it happen and find their dream home is a rush for me. And that's what I want.
That is amazing. I think that's the perfect place. So you're saying that you wouldn't just go post a picture every single time you have a closing on Facebook?
Not every single time.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think that's beneficial either, guys. Like, I would not do that. That doesn't do anything for your business. I
No.
think, that point that you brought up there is the perfect, wrap up conclusion point. Ryan, this has been awesome. And I really appreciate it. If any of you listeners across the country have anybody that's moving to the Indianapolis area, I would definitely give Ryan a call. I know for sure, working on opposite side deals with Ryan's, that it'll go well, and he sets realistic expectations and he takes care of his clients, and the communication is absolutely incredible. So, Ryan, would you care to show everybody or tell everybody your contact information so that they could send you a referral if they came this way?
Sure. My cell is 317-752-5826. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram, Radecki Realty Group, Radecki. That's how you spell it. You can always Google me, and you'll find me on LinkedIn and some other platforms too. But yeah, appreciate the time today, and it was nice chatting real estate with you.
Awesome. Thanks again for listening, everybody. Again, you can subscribe at relaunchpodcast.com. Hope you all have a great day, and we'll talk to you next week.